Parshas Pinchas, Tov Shin Pei Dalet. Baruch Hashem, we made it over here, coming straight from a family Sheva Brachas. Had to leave a little early, but at the end of the day, when you spend Thursday nights for about 730 weeks straight with the same family, this becomes the family too. So, Baruch Hashem, we made it. We're here on time for our Nesivos Shalom Shir. And really, we're in the first week of the Bein HaMetzarim. First week between Shavuos B'Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, the time of the year where more than any other time of the year, it should be on our minds. We really should be thinking about it all the time. But Churban Beis HaMikdash has to be something at the forefront and the center of our minds the next couple of weeks. And what does it mean? What does it mean to have Churban Beis HaMikdash on your mind? As far as we're concerned, it means keeping in mind why we do not have a Beis HaMikdash. And what are the reasons why the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed? And we mention this really every year, and we're actually going to speak about Parshas Pinchas tonight, not so much about the Bein HaMetzarim. But what we do, I want to mention what we say every year, that we have to feel that the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed now, today, during our times. Because had we fixed the reasons why HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Sinas Chinam, Ben Adam HaChaveroi, all those kind of things, if we fixed them up, then there's no question that Mashiach would be here. We lost the Beis HaMikdash for a reason, and we're going to get it back only if we really fix that up. And as much as we think, and we give excuses, and we think to ourselves, yes, we're good, we're doing, obviously, we're not good enough. And hopefully, a little bit closer, if Mashiach doesn't come in the next week or two, then we will speak a little bit more about the inyan of Bein HaMetzarim and the things that we could do. At the beginning of our parsha, this is a parsha that's just packed with so many things to learn, so many things to speak about. At the beginning of the parsha, obviously, about Pinchas and what he did, a kanois, but a kanois l'shem shamayim, there's a big difference, right? And then later on in the parsha, the halachos of Yerusha, about sons inheriting, daughters inheriting. Then we move on and we speak about Rosh Chodesh, Karban Tamid, all the Yom Tovim, the Karbanis of the Yom Tovim, so much to learn throughout this parsha. But there's one thing that somehow, there's one little part of the parsha that's very, very important, somehow gets by the attention that other things in this week's parsha get. And the pasuk tells us at the beginning of the parsha that Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu and Elazar ben Aharon HaKohen to count the people of Klal Yisrael. So es roish kol hadas b'nei Yisrael, but somewhere in between, like you're still thinking about Hinanino saying Loyes Brisi Shalom, you're looking forward already to saying Kohelet with the Baal Korah this week, and somehow we go right by Su'as Roish Kol Hadas B'nei Yisrael. And really we find, if you look through the Torah, that there are 3 times in the Torah that Hashem commands to count the B'nei Yisrael. The first time was after the Cheta Egel. We know Kisisa es Roish B'nei Yisrael, Parshas Kisisa, and after Klal Yisrael had done the Cheta Egel, Hashem said that we should count the people of Klal Yisrael. The next time is in Bamidbar, by the Hakamas HaMishkan. That was the second time. Because Baruch Hu said to build the Mishkan, gave us the instructions. Once the Mishkan was up, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said in Parshas Bamidbar, count. We counted Klal Yisrael. And the final time is in our parsha after there was a Magefa. There was a plague, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said that once again we should count the people of the Bnei Yisrael. And it's actually interesting to note the Lashon HaPasuk. We mentioned it. The Pasuk says, Se'u es roish kol hadas b'nei Yisrael. Se'u actually means to uplift, to lift up, as opposed to the normal words that would be used for counting, tisperu, right? We find when we count, when we refer to counting, we use the lashon of tisperu, timnu, to count, all these things. Limnois means to count, tisperu means to count. But over here, for some reason, when we speak about counting, the Torah uses a lashon of se'u, to lift up. And then the Nesivos Shalom really elaborates on that. And he says like this, that there's a famous Noam Elimelech. Noam Elimelech, Baruch Hashem, we know, Rabbi Brul already told us all the history, Noam Elimelech, where he comes from, where he is, when he lived. So now we have a much better picture. But the Noam Elimelech in Parashas Devarim, coming up in 2 weeks, explains why many people, especially those of us who daven Nusach Svard, what we recite before performing a mitzvah, we recite something called L'Shem Yichud, where it's sort of a preparation before we do a mitzvah, L'Shem Yichud, and we say L'Shem Yichud B'Shem Kol Yisrael, that we're doing the mitzvah in the name of Kol Yisrael. And there's a special world, says the Noam Elimelech, there's a special world called Kol Yisrael. That's the entity, the complete entity known as Klal Yisrael. There's a world of individual Yidden, but there's also something very special that we have, Kol Yisrael, the entity of Klal Yisrael. And in that world, says the Noam Elimelech, there's no such thing as Chet. Chet, a person doing an Aveira, belongs to individuals. But nobody should think that they are so high and so mighty that they can put a chip in the armor of Klal Yisrael. The unit of Klal Yisrael is unaffected by what goes on around. It's not affected, and Klal Yisrael will always and does remain Klal Yisrael. So when we want to do a mitzvah, right? A person comes to do a mitzvah, and there is no person, there isn't a person who doesn't have some sins to account for. So imagine you want to come do a mitzvah, and you might even want to do a mitzvah with the same limb that you may have just done an Aveira. A person may have used their hands, their feet, their mind. You may have used that for an Aveira. And where would we have the chutzpah to come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu now and say, oh, I just imagine a person did something with their hand, and now I want to come to put on tefillin, shake lulav, whatever it is, whatever the mitzvah is, so many mitzvahs done with your hands. How does a person come to do that? So we come and we say that we want to do the mitzvah b'shem kol Yisrael. Not as an individual, not for me, myself, because myself, I'm probably very deficient. I shouldn't be able to come and do a mitzvah. Where do I come to do a mitzvah if I may have just done an Aveira? So we come to do a mitzvah, says the Noam Elimelech, explained by Nesivos Shalom, that we come and we want to do a mitzvah with the entire Klal Yisrael. We want to do it b'shem Kol Yisrael, which is always whole and pure. And we find, really, in the Torah, that there are 3 different brachos that Klal Yisrael receives in the Torah. Klal Yisrael is compared to 3 different things. And what are they? We know, anybody learned Chumash Bereshis, right? Kechochvei Hashamayim. Hashem says that we're going to have a bracha, we're going to be like the stars in the heaven. We're going to also be, another thing, the Choyel Asher Al Svas Hayom. We're going to be like the sand on the beaches, the sand on the shore. That's what we are going to be. And the third thing that Klal Yisrael is compared to, it's tremendous bracha, is like Afar Ha'aretz. We're going to be like the dirt, like the earth, that the earth that is planted in the earth compared to Klal Yisrael. And the Maila of each one is, we know, is pretty obvious. The Maila of stars, what's the blessing of us being like the stars? The Maila of the stars is that each star shines on its own. What a message for the 21st century. Everybody talks about it in the individuality. Every person, the importance and significance of each and every individual Yid. Only today the world is speaking so much, and probably also many of the secular world is for selfish reasons that always look at me. But as Klal Yisrael, that's not what we're referring to. We're referring to the chashivas of each individual, of what each individual can contribute and to be to the world, because what you are, nobody else could be. So every Jew is important and they shine in their own way. That's Kechoch V'Shamayim. Sand on the beach, obviously also the power of unity. One piece of sand, look at the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Mediterranean Sea, whatever you want to take. Take a large body of water, and can you imagine one piece of sand just gets washed away? Well, look at the beach. The sand gets together, and the power, it shows us the power of unity. When sand is together, it can hold off the mighty waves of the ocean. So too, Klal Yisrael. The message is that when Klal Yisrael is together, ba'achdus, we can hold off any enemies. You want to know the secret of doing battle? The secret of doing battle and holding off enemies is when we have achdus. When we have achdus, we have that proverbial sand on the beach. We're all together. We can hold off the ocean. We can hold off. So the koyach ha'achdus can hold off so much. That world of Klal Yisrael, us together, where there is no hate, and nothing can ever penetrate that. Nothing can ever knock that down. And then finally, there is also Afar Ha'aretz. Now, what's the difference between Afar Ha'aretz and Chol Hayom? The final Madrega of Afar Ha'aretz, which is the highest Madrega, says in Nesivos Shalom, that is the earth. And why is the earth on a higher Madrega? Because the earth, the sand just sticks together and holds things back. The earth, when it gets together and sticks together, it takes nourishment from each other. Things grow from the earth. When the earth is together and you have earth that gets watered and everything, the earth together is able to not only stay together, but is able also to produce. It has the power of growth. Because it sticks together, because it becomes one, the earth is now able to produce. And when Jews, when Yidden actually stick together, we can produce so much. Everybody, this is connected to the 3 weeks about Sinas Chinam, judging other people. The bottom line is, Klal Yisrael cannot succeed unless we learn and we concentrate on every faction of Klal Yisrael, the different people, the different types, the different communities that we are, to understand that we're all one, and once we stick together, then we are able to produce. So when counting us in the Torah says, Su'u, lift us up together as one, be'achdus, because that lifts us up to the highest level of Su'u es Roish, kol adas b'nei Yisrael. The stress being on the word kol. And if we're all together, that takes us up to the highest level, where not only do we hold off enemies, we're also able to produce and grow together. By Goyim, nothing unites them as one. The only thing that unites Goyim is when they want to demonstrate against Jews. When they want to demonstrate, you find the strangest, wackiest people who, under normal circumstance, hate each other. But when it comes to hating Jews, somehow then they put their differences aside for a moment. And then that's the only time really you'll see that they have unity. But with us, uvo chulam b'vris yachad, we all come together, then we build that world that's called Klal Yisrael. And that's a very important message. As we began to share with a very important message now, during the Bein HaMetzarim. It's a time in the history of the world where now we're fighting battles on all fronts, spiritually, physically. The way we hold them off is ba'achdus. We all stick together. We get to the highest level, higher than Kechol Hayom, Ka'afar Ha'aretz, where when we stick together, being one Klal Yisrael, Avas Chinam, and Achdus, and that's the lesson with Bein HaMetzarim, the lesson in our parsha of Su'u Es Roish Kol Adas B'nei Yisrael, that lifts us up, and that is the greatest success for us as Klal Yisrael.